Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the Great Hall of Nexus Prime looking at the alien leaders who controlled the galaxy. The massive space station floated in the dark between stars and served as home to the Galactic Council. 50 years had passed since humans first met these beings, and Jake had spent most of those years trying to keep peace between Earth and the rest of the galaxy. Today felt different, though. Today the aliens seemed angry about something. The council chamber was huge, with seats arranged in a circle around the center where Jake now stood. Each alien species had their own section with different colored lights and strange symbols. The Krovic Dominion sat to his left with their gray skin and red eyes glowing in the dim light. The Zeltharian Empire occupied the right side with their tall blue forms and multiple arms moving as they talked among themselves. Dozens of smaller species filled the remaining seats, but Jake knew the Krovic and Zeltharians made all the real decisions. Jake held up a small device and began reading from it. This was his annual report about what Earth had been doing for the past year. The humans had built some new ships and started mining operations on 3 more worlds. They had traded with friendly aliens and sent food to planets that needed help. Everything sounded normal and boring, just like every year before. The aliens listened with half their attention while doing other things. What none of these aliens knew was that Jake was only telling them about 1% of what humans really did. Earth had hundreds of hidden shipyards building warships that could destroy entire fleets. Secret weapons waited in asteroid belts and behind moons. Human technology had advanced far beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, but they kept it hidden. The aliens thought humans were weak and useful only for basic labor and raw materials. Captain Lisa Barrett sat on the bridge of her ship, the Vigilant, watching stars move past the view screen. She commanded one of the few human ships that patrolled the outer edges of human space. Her crew was small but skilled. Commander Ryan Pierce handled weapons and tactics from his station behind her. Lieutenant Amy Foster worked at communications, keeping track of all the messages flowing between ships and colonies. Amy suddenly looked up from her console with worry on her face. She had picked up a distress signal from Kepler colony on the edge of human territory. The message was broken and full of static, but Lisa could hear people screaming in the background. Someone was attacking the colony, and the colonists needed help right away. Lisa ordered Ryan to set course for Kepler at maximum speed while Amy tried to contact other human ships in the area. When the Vigilant arrived at Kepler, the crew saw a terrible sight. Krovic raiders had surrounded the small mining colony with their black warships. The colony had no defenses except for a few security guards with basic weapons. Krovic soldiers were landing on the planet and shooting anyone who tried to run away. They loaded stolen equipment and valuable minerals onto their ships while the colonists watched their homes burn. Lisa wanted to attack the raiders, but she knew her single ship could not fight 6 Krovic warships. The Vigilant was designed to look weak like all human ships that operated in open space. Its real weapons and shields were hidden inside, but using them would reveal secrets that Earth wanted to keep. Instead, Lisa recorded everything and sent emergency messages to other human colonies, warning them about the attack. The Krovic raiders finished their work and flew away, leaving behind smoking ruins and dead bodies. Lisa ordered her crew to land and help the survivors. They found only a few dozen people still alive out of the 1,000 who had lived in the colony. Many were injured, and all of them had lost everything they owned. The raiders had taken food and medical supplies along with the valuable materials. Back on Nexus Prime, Jake stood before the Galactic Council again. But this time he was angry. He had received Lisa's report about the attack on Kepler colony and demanded justice. The evidence was clear that Krovic raiders had attacked defenseless human civilians without any reason. This violated every law and treaty that governed behavior in the galaxy. The Council had to do something about it. Ambassador Vex Thule of the Krovic Dominion stood up to respond. He was a large alien with gray skin and sharp teeth that showed when he talked. His red eyes glowed with amusement as he looked down at Jake. Vex Thule claimed that the human colonists had provoked the attack by refusing to pay proper taxes to the Krovic government. He said his people were only collecting what they were owed according to ancient territorial rights. Jake knew this was a lie because Kepler colony was deep inside human space and had never been part of Krovic territory. The ambassador was making up excuses to justify murder and theft. But when Jake presented his evidence, the other council members seemed bored. The Zeltharian representative actually yawned while looking at the recordings of dead human civilians. To them, human lives did not matter very much. After a short discussion, the council voted to dismiss the charges against the Krovic Dominion. They claimed there was not enough evidence to prove who really started the conflict. Several council members suggested that humans should be more careful about where they built their colonies. Maybe they should ask permission from stronger species before expanding into new areas of space. Jake felt his anger growing as he listened to their words. These aliens saw humans as weak creatures who existed only to serve the powerful species. They thought Earth would accept any insult or attack without fighting back. Jake stepped forward and spoke in a clear voice that echoed through the chamber. He warned the council that continued aggression against human colonies would have serious consequences. Earth would not tolerate the murder of its citizens. The alien delegates began laughing when they heard Jake's warning. Ambassador Vexthul laughed the loudest while pointing at the human admiral. He asked what Earth could possibly do to stop the mighty Krovic Dominion. Humans had only a few hundred small ships, while the Krovic commanded thousands of powerful warships. The other aliens joined in the laughter, thinking it was very funny that such a weak species would threaten them. Jake stood quietly and let them laugh. He did not tell them about the massive human fleet hidden throughout the solar system. He did not mention the weapons that could destroy planets or the shields that could stop any attack. He simply looked at each alien leader and remembered their faces. Soon they would learn that their laughter was a mistake. Soon they would discover what humans could really do when pushed too far. For now, Jake would return to Earth and prepare for what was coming next. President Claire. Mitchell walked down the long corridor that led to the most secret place on Earth. The tunnel was carved deep into the rock beneath Geneva and protected by security systems that could stop any weapon known to the galaxy. Only a few dozen humans knew this place existed, and even fewer had ever been inside. Today, Claire was calling an emergency meeting of the Terran Defense Council because everything was about to change. The command center was a vast underground chamber filled with holographic displays and control stations. Giant screens showed every human ship and station scattered across dozens of star systems. What made these displays special was that they showed the real human fleet, not the small force that aliens thought existed. Thousands of warships waited in hidden bases inside asteroids and behind gas giant moons. Weapons platforms disguised as space stations pointed their guns at empty space ready to defend. Earth General Marcus Webb stood before the main display, pointing out different ship positions to the people gathered around him. Marcus had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. He knew exactly where every human warship was located and what weapons they carried. The aliens thought humans were weak because they only saw the ships that operated in open space. The real fleet had been building and training in secret for 50 years. Dr. Helen Cross activated another set of displays that showed human technology development over the past decades. While aliens used the same weapons and ships they had possessed for centuries, humans had been advancing rapidly. Their ships looked old and simple from the outside, but contained revolutionary quantum computers and adaptive armor systems. Human weapons could punch through any known shield, while their own defenses could adapt to stop incoming attacks. Admiral Jake Morrison arrived from his meeting with the Galactic Council looking tired and angry. He told the group about how the aliens had laughed at his warnings about attacking human colonies. Ambassador Vexthul had been especially insulting, suggesting that humans should ask permission before expanding into space. The council refused to punish the Krovic raiders who had murdered innocent civilians on Kepler colony. Claire listened to Jake's report with growing concern. She had hoped the aliens would see reason and stop their attacks on human settlements. Instead, they seemed to think that humans would accept any insult without fighting back. The president looked around the room at her advisors and military leaders. These people had spent their lives preparing for war, but they all hoped it would never come. Now it seemed they had no choice. General Webb began showing intelligence reports gathered by human agents throughout the galaxy. These reports painted a frightening picture of what the major alien powers were planning. The Krovic Dominion had begun moving their battle fleets toward human space. The Zeltharian Empire was calling up reserve forces and preparing for a major military operation. 3 smaller alien species had agreed to join them in what they called a final solution to the human problem. Dr. Cross explained that alien communications had become much more aggressive in recent months. They spoke about humans as if they were insects that needed to be controlled or eliminated. The larger species saw Earth's growing population and industrial capacity as a threat to their own power. They wanted to attack before humans became too strong to defeat easily. What they did not know was that humans were already much stronger than they appeared. Meanwhile, in space, Captain Lisa Barrett received new orders from Earth Command. Her ship, the Vigilant, was ordered to conduct detailed scans of alien fleet movements near human territory. Lisa knew this meant war was coming soon. She also knew that her ship was not really the simple patrol vessel it appeared to be. Hidden inside its basic hull were weapons and systems that could destroy ships 10 times its size. Commander. Ryan Pierce worked at his tactical station studying the latest intelligence about alien ship designs and weapons. What he saw worried him greatly. The aliens were gathering the largest military force in galactic history. More than 50,000 warships from 5 different species were moving toward human space. On paper, this force could destroy every human colony and reduce Earth itself to burning ruins. Lieutenant Amy Foster intercepted a message that made everyone on the bridge stop what they were doing. The Alien Alliance had sent an official ultimatum to Earth demanding complete surrender. Humans had 7 days to abandon their outer colonies and accept direct alien oversight of all human activities. Any resistance would result in the total destruction of human civilization and the enslavement of all survivors. Back in the command center beneath Geneva, Claire read the ultimatum with her council members. The aliens were demanding that humans give up everything they had built in space and submit to becoming a slave race. They offered to let some humans live if Earth surrendered immediately and without conditions. Any attempt to fight back would result in complete extermination. The message ended with a reminder that resistance was hopeless against such overwhelming force. Admiral Morrison requested permission to make one final diplomatic attempt before Earth took more serious action. He wanted to address the Galactic Council one more time and give them a chance to reconsider their position. Claire agreed, but told Jake to make it clear that this would be humanity's last peaceful offer. After this, there would be no more talking, only action. Jake returned to Nexus Prime and stood before the assembled alien leaders one final time. The chamber was packed with representatives from dozens of species, all eager to hear how humans would respond to their ultimatum. Many of them expected Jake to beg for mercy or offer to pay tribute in exchange for human lives. Instead, Jake stood straight and spoke in a clear, strong voice that carried to every corner of the room. Jake told the council that humanity rejected their ultimatum completely. Earth would never surrender its colonies or accept alien control over human affairs. He warned them once more that attacking human settlements would bring consequences they could not imagine. Humanity possessed the means to defend itself and would use every available weapon to protect innocent civilians from alien aggression. The alien delegates responded with even louder laughter than before. Ambassador Vex Thul stood up and announced that the Krovic Dominion would personally destroy every human ship and colony. He promised that human survivors would spend the rest of their lives working in alien mines and factories. The Zeltharian representative added that humans had shown they were too dangerous to remain free and needed to be controlled by their betters. Jake listened to their threats without changing expression. When they finished talking, he delivered one final message that would be remembered for generations. He told the assembled aliens that humanity had tried to warn them peacefully. Earth had offered friendship and cooperation, but the galaxy had chosen war instead. Now they would learn what humans were really capable of when forced to fight for their survival. With those words, Jake turned and walked out of the council chamber for the last time. Admiral Thax Korvek commanded the largest military force ever assembled in galactic history, from the bridge of his massive dreadnought, the Worldbreaker. The alien fleet stretched across space in all directions, with over 50,000 warships ready for battle. Krovic vessels formed the center of the formation with their black hulls and red weapon ports glowing in the darkness. Zeltharian ships flanked them on both sides while smaller allied species filled the remaining positions. The fleet had traveled for days to reach the edge of the Sol system where Earth waited for them. Thax Korvek felt confident about the coming battle because his forces outnumbered the humans by more than 100 to 1. Intelligence reports showed that Earth possessed only a few hundred outdated ships with primitive weapons and weak shields. This would not be a war but a simple extermination mission that would be over in hours. The alien admiral opened a communications channel that would reach every human settlement in the galaxy. His message was simple and brutal. Earth had one final chance to surrender unconditionally and accept slavery under alien rule. Any attempt to resist would result in the complete destruction of human civilization. He gave the humans exactly 1 hour to respond before the attack would begin. On Earth, President Claire Mitchell sat in the underground command center, watching the alien fleet approach on the main display. The enemy ships filled the screen like a dark cloud moving toward the sun. Around her, the most powerful humans in government and military sat quietly waiting for her decision. Everyone knew this moment would determine whether humanity survived or disappeared forever. Claire stood up and walked to the center of the room where a single red button waited on a small console. This button would activate Protocol 7, which was humanity's most secret and dangerous plan. For 50 years, humans had prepared for this moment, building weapons and ships that no alien could imagine. Now the time had come to reveal what Earth could really do when threatened with extinction. Without hesitation, Claire pressed the button and spoke the words that would change galactic history forever. She authorized the activation of all hidden human defenses and gave permission for the fleet to reveal its true capabilities. Across the solar system, secret installations began powering up for the first time. Weapons that had waited decades in darkness started charging their energy systems. The asteroid belt suddenly came alive with thousands of points of light as mining stations revealed their true nature. What the aliens had thought were simple rock processing facilities transformed into heavily armed battle platforms, bristling with weapons. Each station was capable of destroying entire fleets, but they had remained hidden by looking like ordinary industrial equipment. On Luna, the space elevator that had carried cargo for decades began to unfold like a massive flower, opening in the sunlight. Hidden inside its structure was a railgun so large it could accelerate projectiles to 15% of light speed. This weapon could punch holes through planets, but until now it had been disguised as a simple transportation system. The moons of Jupiter opened like giant doorways, revealing sprawling shipyards that had been building warships, in secret for generations. Thousands of advanced human vessels emerged from their hiding places ready for battle. These ships were nothing like the simple patrol boats that operated in open space. They were sleek predators armed with weapons that could tear apart any known alien vessel. Captain Lisa Barrett stood on the bridge of her ship, but it was no longer called the Vigilant. The vessel had transformed into something completely different, revealing its true name, the Retribution. The simple patrol ship exterior had been a disguise hiding revolutionary technology, decades ahead of anything the galaxy had seen. Lisa looked at her crew and smiled as she prepared to show the aliens what humans could really do. Lieutenant Amy Foster opened a channel to the alien fleet and delivered humanity's response to their ultimatum. Her voice was calm and steady as she spoke words that would echo through history. She told the aliens that they had been warned about attacking human colonies, but they chose not to listen. Now they would face the consequences of underestimating humanity and learn why Earth had tried to avoid this conflict. Admiral Thax Korvek stared at his displays in shock as human ships appeared throughout the solar system. His sensors were detecting thousands of vessels where intelligence had promised only hundreds. Even worse, these ships were not showing up properly on his scanners, suggesting they possessed stealth technology far beyond alien capabilities. For the first time since the battle began, Thax Korvek felt a touch of worry. The battle began when the first human ships opened fire on the alien fleet. Thax Korvek expected to see the primitive energy beams that human vessels had always used in previous encounters. Instead, brilliant lances of light tore through space with impossible speed and power. These weapons punched through alien shields as if they did not exist and reduced massive warships to glowing debris in seconds. Commander Ryan Pierce coordinated the human attack from his station aboard the Retribution, watching as alien formations broke apart under the assault. Human ships moved with incredible speed and agility, dodging alien weapons while their own guns found targets with perfect accuracy. The enemy fleet that had seemed so overwhelming minutes before was already taking massive casualties. The aliens tried to fight back, but their weapons seemed useless against human defenses. Energy beams and missiles that should have destroyed human ships simply disappeared or bounced harmlessly off adaptive shields. The humans had developed defensive systems that could analyze incoming attacks and adjust to stop them in real time. Nothing the aliens fired could penetrate these revolutionary barriers. Admiral Thax Korvek watched his mighty fleet being torn apart by an enemy he had dismissed as weak and primitive. Krovic dreadnoughts that had never been damaged in 1,000 years of warfare exploded like toys under human weapons. Zeltharian battlecruisers tried to retreat, but human ships pursued them with relentless efficiency. The smaller allied species turned and fled as fast as their engines could carry them. The railgun on Luna fired its first shot, sending a projectile across the solar system at incredible speed. The metal slug hit the world breaker with the force of a small star and punched completely through the massive dreadnought. Thax Korvac had just enough time to realize how badly he had underestimated humanity before his ship exploded around him. The most powerful warship in alien space was reduced to scattered atoms in an instant. Within hours, the great alien armada was completely destroyed. Those ships that had not been blown apart were fleeing toward the edge of the system, with human vessels in pursuit. The invasion force that was supposed to enslave humanity had been utterly defeated without managing to damage a single human ship. For the first time in galactic history, a major alien coalition had been crushed by what they considered an inferior species. The age of alien dominance was ending, and the time of human power had begun. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the massive human dreadnought Liberty, watching the stars rush past as his fleet pursued the fleeing alien forces. The destruction of the enemy armada at Earth had been only the beginning of humanity's response to alien aggression. Now Jake was leading the largest human fleet ever assembled, on a mission to make sure no alien species would ever again threaten innocent civilians. The human counteroffensive was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of simply defending their territory, humans were taking the fight directly to alien homeworlds and military bases. Their strategy was precise and devastating, targeting command centers, supply lines, and strategic installations across multiple star systems. The aliens had started this war, but humanity intended to finish it. Human ships moved through space with incredible speed using advanced propulsion systems that had been hidden for decades. They could travel between star systems in days rather than weeks and strike targets before enemy forces could respond. Each human vessel was a technological marvel that made alien warships look like ancient relics from a forgotten age. General Marcus Webb coordinated the liberation of human colonies that had been under alien occupation for months. His forces arrived at each world like avenging angels, bringing hope to colonists who had given up all chance of rescue. The sight of human dreadnoughts emerging from hyperspace sent alien garrison forces fleeing, in panic while colonists cheered from the ground below. At New Terra, the rescued colonists stared in amazement at the human ships that had come to save them. These were not the simple patrol vessels they remembered from before the war. These were massive predators bristling with weapons that seemed to bend space around them. The colonists had never imagined that Earth possessed such incredible military power. Captain Lisa Barrett led boarding parties that captured alien vessels, intact, to gather intelligence about enemy capabilities and plans. Her teams moved through enemy ships with surgical precision using advanced armor and weapons that made them nearly invincible. The aliens they encountered were shocked to discover that human technology was generations ahead of their own. Engineer Commander Kate Sullivan worked with Dr. Helen Cross to analyze captured alien technology and decode their computer systems. What they found confirmed humanity's worst fears about alien intentions. The coalition had planned to exterminate 90% of the human population and use the survivors as slave labor in alien factories and mines. There had never been any intention of allowing humans to live free. Human adaptive artificial intelligence systems quickly cracked alien encryption codes and gained access to their complete military databases. This provided Earth with detailed information about every alien fleet movement, strategic plan, and secret installation throughout the galaxy. The aliens had spent centuries building their civilization, but humans mapped all of it in a matter of days. The Krovic homeworld panic spread through the population as reports arrived of their mighty armada's destruction. The species that had dominated their region of space for thousands of years suddenly found themselves defenseless against an enemy they had completely underestimated. Krovic leaders who had laughed at human warnings now begged their military commanders to find some way to stop the advancing human fleet. Ambassador Vexthul, who had been so arrogant during the council meetings, now sent desperate messages to Earth asking for mercy. He claimed that the Krovic people had been misled by their government and did not support the war against humanity. Vexthul offered to surrender all Krovic military forces and pay tribute to Earth in exchange for peace. Admiral Morrison received Vexthul's surrender offer while his fleet approached the edge of Krovic space. Jake's response was broadcast across the galaxy for everyone to hear. He told the aliens that they had been offered peace and friendship but chose war and genocide instead. Now they would face the full consequences of their decision to threaten human civilians. The human assault reached its most dramatic moment when Dr. Cross activated humanity's ultimate secret weapon. Hidden throughout the galaxy were quantum disruption devices that could interfere with faster-than-light travel across entire sectors. When these devices powered up, alien ships found themselves trapped in normal space, unable to retreat or call for reinforcements. Zeltharian commanders tried to organize a final defense of their territory but discovered that their ships could no longer jump to hyperspace. They were forced to fight using conventional propulsion, which made them sitting targets for human weapons. The proud empire that had ruled half the galaxy was reduced to isolated groups of ships being hunted down one by one. Commander Ryan Pierce led tactical operations against alien strongholds, using strategies that the enemy could not counter. Human forces struck with perfect coordination, hitting multiple targets simultaneously, while alien defenders struggled to communicate with each other. The quantum disruption field not only trapped enemy ships but also interfered with their ability to coordinate their defense. Lieutenant Amy Foster monitored alien communications as their civilization collapsed around them. The species that had threatened to enslave humanity were now begging for mercy from any force that would listen. Their arrogant threats had been replaced by desperate pleas for survival as human fleets systematically dismantled their military infrastructure. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the supposedly primitive humans methodically defeated every major alien power. Species that had dominated space for millennia found themselves helpless against human technology and tactics. The natural order that had existed for thousands of years was being completely overturned in a matter of months. Within 6 months of the failed invasion of Earth, the alien coalition was completely defeated. The Krovic Dominion surrendered unconditionally after losing 90% of their fleet. The Zeltharian Empire fragmented into dozens of smaller states that could barely defend themselves. The smaller species that had joined them coalition against humanity now competed with each other to offer the most generous surrender terms to Earth. Admiral Morrison stood in his command center looking at displays that showed human ships patrolling throughout the galaxy. The war that aliens had started with such confidence was over, and humanity had won a complete victory. The species that had threatened to exterminate humans now existed only at Earth's mercy. The age of alien dominance had ended, and a new chapter in galactic history was about to begin. The great chamber of the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime had never been so quiet. 6 months after the end of the war, the most powerful beings in the galaxy sat in respectful silence waiting for Admiral Jake Morrison to speak. The same aliens who had laughed at his warnings now listened carefully to every word he said. The balance of power had shifted completely and everyone knew it. Jake stood in the center of the chamber looking at each alien delegate in turn. Many of these beings had voted to support the coalition that tried to exterminate humanity. Others had remained silent when human colonies were attacked and innocent civilians were murdered. Now they all waited to learn what Earth intended to do with its overwhelming military superiority. Ambassador Vex Thule sat in the Krovic section looking much smaller than he had during previous meetings. The arrogant alien who had once threatened to enslave humanity now avoided eye contact with the human admiral. His government had surrendered unconditionally after losing most of their fleet and several important colonies. The mighty Krovic Dominion existed now only because Earth allowed it to continue. The Zeltharian Empire had suffered even worse losses during the war. Their territory had been divided among dozens of smaller states that spent more time fighting each other than trying to rebuild their civilization. The once proud species that had ruled half the galaxy was now reduced to begging for human protection against their own former subjects. President Claire Mitchell arrived at Nexus Prime aboard the newest class of human vessels. The ship that carried her was a masterpiece of technology that made every alien vessel look primitive by comparison. Its hull gleamed with adaptive armor that could stop any known weapon while its engines bent space around them in ways that alien scientists could barely understand. The message was clear to everyone who saw the human ship. Earth was no longer hiding its technological capabilities behind simple disguises. Humanity had emerged from the shadows as the most advanced civilization in the galaxy, and intended to take their rightful place as leaders of galactic society. The age of pretending to be weak was over. Dr. Helen Cross presented the galaxy with a simple choice during her address to the Council. The assembled aliens could accept humanity as an equal partner in galactic governance and work together to build a better future for all species. Or they could continue their hostile attitudes and face the consequences of opposing the most powerful military force in known space. To demonstrate what humanity was capable of, Dr. Cross activated a holographic display that showed Earth's hidden military installations throughout the galaxy. The aliens stared in shock as they realized that human forces had been watching them for decades, from secret bases they never knew existed. Every alien world was within range of human weapons that could destroy entire planets. Captain Lisa Barrett, who had been promoted to Fleet Admiral after her heroic service during the war, now oversaw the establishment of new galactic defense protocols. Human ships maintained a visible presence throughout space, not as conquerors but as guardians of peace. Any species that threatened innocent civilians would face swift and overwhelming retaliation from Earth's forces. The ETA new defense system was designed to prevent any single species from gaining enough power to threaten galactic peace. Human monitoring stations tracked military buildups and weapons development across all inhabited systems. When potential threats were detected, human diplomats would arrive to discuss the situation before it could escalate into warfare. Commander Ryan Pierce led diplomatic missions to former enemy worlds, offering technological assistance and trade agreements to species willing to embrace peaceful coexistence. Many aliens who had once viewed humans as primitive insects now eagerly sought Earth's help in rebuilding their war-damaged civilizations. Human generosity toward former enemies surprised many observers. The Krovic homeworld received significant aid from Earth, despite their role in starting the war. Human engineers helped rebuild destroyed cities while human doctors treated wounded civilians. This kindness toward a former enemy demonstrated that humanity was more interested in creating lasting peace than seeking revenge for past wrongs. General Marcus Webb established
new training programs that allowed alien species to learn human
military tactics and technology. These programs were designed to help smaller civilizations defend themselves against aggression, while ensuring they could never threaten human colonies. The galaxy was becoming safer for everyone under Earth's protection. The Galactic Council was reorganized under new principles that guaranteed equal rights for all species regardless of their military power or economic influence. No longer could powerful civilizations dominate weaker ones through threats of violence. Every species had a voice in galactic affairs, and every world was protected by human forces. Lieutenant Amy Foster now worked as Earth's chief communications officer, coordinating messages between human forces and alien governments throughout the galaxy. Her job was to ensure that all species understood the new rules of galactic society and knew how to request help if they faced threats from aggressive neighbors. Amy prepared to broadcast a message that would reach every corner of the galaxy and establish humanity's position for generations to come. Her words would be heard on thousands of worlds by billions of beings who had learned to respect human power. The message would remind everyone of the lessons learned through galactic war. Amy's voice carried across space to every inhabited system as she delivered humanity's final statement on the war. She reminded the galaxy that Earth had tried to warn them about the consequences of aggression, but they chose not to listen. Humans had preferred peace to conflict, but when forced to fight, they proved that they were not the weak species their enemies believed them to be. The broadcast continued with a promise that humanity would never again hide their strength to preserve the comfort of those who would oppress innocent beings. Earth's military power would remain visible as a reminder to all species that aggression against civilians would not be tolerated. The galaxy now lived under human protection whether they wanted it or not. Years passed and the galaxy settled into a new era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. Trade flourished between species that had once been enemies, while scientific cooperation led to advances that benefited everyone. The constant warfare that had plagued galactic civilization for millennia was becoming a memory of a darker time. In the depths of space, human scientists continued their research, developing new technologies that would ensure galactic peace endured for generations to come. Secret laboratories worked on projects that could reshape reality itself, while hidden shipyards built vessels that made current human ships look primitive. Earth was preparing for threats that had not yet emerged. The galaxy had learned that humanity was far more than they appeared to be, and the lesson would not be forgotten. Earth stood as guardian and protector of all civilized beings, ensuring that never again would the strong prey upon the weak. The age of human dominance had begun, and with it came the promise of peace, prosperity, and justice for all who lived among the stars.